Hello friends, tonight I'm going to give you an update on my lovely CZ SP-01 Tactical, and we'll talk about how it's doing after 3,000 rounds. I'm just now getting around to making this update video. I'm really behind on my update videos, but you'll be seeing a rash of them coming out very soon. My original plan was to have these videos made for pretty much all of my handguns by the end of the summer, but I became fixated with long-range rifle shooting over the summer. And though I was still able to do a lot of pistol shooting, it took considerably longer to put the usual 3,000 rounds through a few of these. Though my beloved Beretta 92A1 continued to be abused at the same rate throughout the summer because, my God, I love that gun. Anyway, the SP-01 Tactical, every time I pick this gun up, it captures my heart. It has a lot of natural charm. The gun is very visually appealing, of course, but the grip is supremely ergonomic despite being designed in the 1970s. It's kind of a utilitarian gun with a military trigger, this flat black finish and rubber grips, but it still manages to practically overflow with character and unique charm. There's nothing quite like a CZ75. So, how has the gun performed? Well, when I first bought it, the clerk told me that in his mind CZ75s are very cool and everyone should own one, but they just aren't as robust as something like a Glock, let's say. So I wasn't sure that I would like the CZ75 after hearing that, but it's the sort of pistol that most shooters just ought to have an example of for the sake of history, comparison, and pure shooting pleasure, so I bought it. I didn't quite understand the appeal for a while. It felt great in my hand, and I shot it well, but it just kind of seemed like any other really nice double-action, single-action metal pistol. So I would end up going really long periods of time, up to a few months, without picking the CZ up. But I noticed that my range sessions with it started to get longer and my groups got a lot smaller. And slowly this thing became a beloved treasure. I never did experience a malfunction, by the way. At one point, this gun went over 1,000 rounds without being cleaned. I know that's not really excessive, but surely an unreliable gun wouldn't make it to 1,000 rounds without a cleaning, right? But that's not the most impressive thing, the reliability, because we expect any quality pistol to run 3,000 rounds without a failure. And I think that based on how this is done, I think it's going to go a lot more than 3,000 rounds before I see a failure, if I ever do see one. But the impressive thing on this gun is the fit and finish. Forget the trigger. It has a combat trigger. The trigger is just functional and what you would expect and would be appropriate for a gun like this. But the slide to frame fit is absolutely unreal for a $600 gun. It's unreal for a $1,000 gun. And frankly, I felt more wiggle from a lot of $2,000 guns. This pistol is capable of astounding accuracy. Not that I can actually take advantage of that accuracy, but this gun is like shooting a very tiny rifle or the world's biggest pistol, I guess, depending on how you look at it. It is very large. So let's take a look at that fit. Do you hear that? No, you don't. There's no wiggle. The slide to frame fit is absolutely insane, and it's this tight after 3,000 rounds. But unlike some of the 1911s I've shot that were fit very tightly, this does not malfunction. And the way the slide moves in the frame, it feels like it's on ball bearings. It really does feel like a custom pistol almost. So let's take a look inside this thing and see how it's wearing in. I'll warn you in advance, I have not cleaned it recently, so it is quite gross in there. Reaching across the table with my arms extended, it is kind of hard to take this thing apart. And you can feel the tightness of the gun even when you're pulling it apart. Look at how slick that is. That's nuts. So you can see that from use, the slide has worn in against the frame, mating the two together. you can see the same wear on the frame. That's awesome. We have our plastic guide rod, which has held up just fine. I know some people hate plastic guide rods, but they work totally fine, and you should not fear them. Save yourself the weight. You can see that the barrel has worn considerably, but it's not like I'm having malfunctions, and I think that much like with the slide to frame, I think this is really just the barrel mating itself in position. You can see similar where it locks up inside the slide. Man, I'm forgetting the names of the various gun parts today. But yeah, it is worn in just fine. No excessive wear really, and all the parts just feel better and better. I've been truly impressed with the craftsmanship from CZ. They make just some incredible handguns. So let's talk about that craftsmanship for a moment. I've noticed that a few of my friends maybe view CZs as being sort of a budget option. You really shouldn't. Just because these guns cost less doesn't mean that they perform to a lower standard or that they're built to a lower standard. Build-wise, this is one of the nicest guns that I own and far from the most expensive. So let's just enjoy that rather than thinking of these as being lesser somehow. CZs are incredible. Let's start with the simple, small stuff first. I love the way that it sits in my hand. It sort of nestles itself into my grip perfectly like it belongs there. And the big flat side of the frame is just waiting for my thumb. And then the same flatness on the other side. It's a nice, delightful, safe place for me to stow my trigger finger away from the trigger. Very nice. I have a hard time reaching most push-button magazine releases, but this one is huge and wide and a pleasure to push. The slide release is big and fat and easy to hit. Very nice. And I also like that there's no manual safety and the decocker faces backwards. Yeah, so you're not going to accidentally engage the decocker when the gun rocks back under recoil. This gun is a lot of the small things are great and all, but what made me really fall in love with this gun is that it makes me a better shooter than I really am. The small slide might be tough to grab, as folks have noted, and you've probably seen me struggling with it a little bit here, but the benefits massively outweigh the negatives. When you fire, there's so little moving mass on top of the gun that you don't experience much muzzle flip, and then the gun sits so low in your hand that what recoil you do feel is kind of more of a rearward push than an upward snap. Again, it makes me feel much better than I actually am. The weight certainly helps with the recoil too. This gun it's pretty heavy. It's like 2.25 pounds, maybe something like that. And the insanely good slide to frame fit makes this gun astonishingly accurate. With the SP-01, you can't blame the gun. I mean, with really any well-crafted modern gun, you can't blame the gun. But here, if you miss, it's definitely because you missed. You need to just accept that up front. But in addition to making me feel like a better shooter, I think this gun has genuinely improved my skills. The firing experience is so natural that I can just concentrate on the fundamentals rather than using what little brain power I have to worry about what my hands are doing with the gun. When I pick up the CZ, if I focus on sight alignment and my trigger press, I'm going to be just fine every shot. So what will I change about this gun? I don't know if I'm really going to change this one very much. A lot of the modifications that I'm considering for this gun already exist in the CZ Shadow 2. I'm probably just better off purchasing a Shadow. I like that it has those thinner aluminum grips, but those are less pillowy and soft than these, so these still have a lot going for them. I also would like to have Cajun Gunworks do their magical stuff to the trigger. As it is, this gun has a combat trigger. Let's take a look at the trigger, actually. So the double action pull, it's long with a little bit of creak at the beginning, but compared to a lot of its competitors, pretty smooth, actually. The single action, we've got some take up, a little bit less than is average for a metal double action, single action gun. Then we reach the wall, some creep past the wall to the break. Let's look at the reset too. Yeah, the reset's medium. Let's look at that single action pull one more time. There's the wall, some creak, and it breaks. So for this gun, a combat or defensive pistol, this is the right trigger for its purpose. The trigger is very forgiving. It's just the right one. It's really not bad at all, but if you felt the Shadow 2, it's got more of a target trigger. You know how amazing it is. It's one of the best triggers that money can buy. So I should say, part of me really likes the stock trigger and would miss it, but I almost wish I had never tried the Shadow 2. I guess I'm going to just have to have 2 CZ75s now. Final thoughts. If you shoot for the pure pleasure of shooting, you owe it to yourself to try one of these. There are few guns that are more fun to simply take to the range and fire. Shooting doesn't always have to be about winning the match or training to defend yourself or running crazy drills. Sometimes it's nice to just shoot a pistol that makes you appreciate that guns are super cool and shooting them is super fun. Don't get me wrong, I have kind of a competitive spirit and I really like the tactical stuff, but occasionally it's fun to just relax at the range, and this is a gun that's great for that. So if you don't have a CZ and you like decocker only pistols, you should probably go buy one of these. Nothing feels quite like it for the money. Berettas and CZs both kind of harken back to an older time when pistols weren't just about functionality. You expected your pistol to be reliable and a work of art, all at the same time. The CZ75 might be a little bit more utilitarian in appearance than the Beretta 92, but it's no less a beautiful thing to behold. This is a damn fine gun. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. I hope you have a great evening. Good night. Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Thanks for watching this update video. We laughed a lot, we hugged a lot, we cried a lot, and made some new friends. If you enjoyed this video, learned something, or simply thought I was the worst and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button. It would really help me out. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Good night.